Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Fred Reichheld. Fred is the creator of the Net Promoter System of Management, the founder of Bain and Company's loyalty practice, and the author of 5 books, including the New York Times bestseller, The Ultimate Question 2.0. He is currently a fellow and senior advisory partner at Bain, where he has worked since 1977. Fred is a frequent speaker at major business forums, and his work on customer loyalty has been widely covered in the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, Financial Times, Fortune, Businessweek and The Economist. His upcoming article to be published in November marks his 15th contribution to the Harvard Business Review. In 2012, he became one of the original LinkedIn influencers, an invitation-only group of corporate leaders and public figures who are thought leaders in their respective fields. In 2003, Consulting Magazine named Fred as one of the world's 25 most influential consultants. According to the New York Times, he put loyalty economics on the map. The Economist refers to him as the high priest of loyalty. Reichheld graduated with honors both from Harvard College B.A. 1974 and Harvard Business School M.B.A. 1978. He's based in Cape Cod and Miami. So without further delay, sit back, plug your earphones in, and let's jump right into this fantastic conversation with Fred. Welcome, Fred.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. So I know your bio kind of gives us an idea of what you are and what you're about and a little bit about your professional journey, but we always like our guests to share in their own words a little bit about their own journey. How is it that you got to where you are today?
Well, early in my career at Bain and Company, I noticed companies, some large, some small, some brand new, some quite mature, but they were all outperforming all of the things I'd learned at Harvard. And a good example was Enterprise Rent-A-Car, who started out as a tiny little rental leasing agency in St. Louis and has grown now to become the largest car rental company on earth without ever having to tap public equity markets. It's still a private company. And you think, gosh, and what I learned at Harvard was capital-intensive business, low-growth industry, low margins. There's no way that you could grow on internally generated cash. So when I went to meet with Andy Taylor, their CEO, he said, Fred, there's no secret. There's only one way to grow a successful business sustainably. And so I was listening for this great secret. And he said, you treat your customers so they come back for more and bring their friends. And that basic idea changed my world, because that's what I now understand is the key to success. If your customers are coming back for more and bringing their friends, your economic flywheel will crush the competition.
Amazing. All right. So I had an opportunity to get an advanced copy of your book, Winning on Purpose. I really, really love it. I haven't finished reading it as yet, but I've gotten quite far in it. And so I just wanted you to share with us, Fred, in the book, especially in the preface and the foreword, you kind of mentioned that you have this net promoter system, but people are not actually using it the way how you created it to be used. Could you explain to us what the net promoter system is and how companies should really be using it to yield the best results?
Sure. I've long been troubled by the fact that financial accounting is how we run our businesses. And while financial accounting is very good at telling us when we've extracted $1 million from our customers' wallets, it does nothing in helping us understand when we've enriched 1 million customers' lives, or when our teams have done work that's meaningful and toward an important purpose. And Net Promoter was my attempt at helping companies measure that important idea of all the lives you touch, how many are enriched, how many diminished. And that evolved into Net Promoter Score. It's based on one question: how likely you'd recommend us to a friend, 0 through 10. And it turns out that when someone gives you a 9 and especially a 10, you've enriched their life. You've lived up to the golden rule of loving your neighbor. And 0 through 6, you've failed. You've diminished their life. And so this notion of Net Promoter Score is just keeping track of all the lives touched, how many enriched, how many diminished, and how many promoters, how many detractors. It's very practical for running a business because your promoters are your assets who come back for more and bring their friends. But it's a little bit inspirational because putting your teams to work at enriching lives and measuring that outcome and helping them learn how to do better, that's really helping them live the right kind of life.
All right. So at the end of the day, we're all trying to build better relationships with our customers. Now, in your book, you also said that loyalty means investing time and resources in relationships. Do you know, maybe could you share with us, maybe based on your experience and your research, you've definitely been in this thing way longer than I have, maybe 2 or 3 drivers that you think contribute to loyalty? And this is loyalty in general, which I'm sure impacts business relationships, because I mean, loyalty is something that as human beings, we do, link it to a person. You're loyal. For example, if you have an animal, your dog is loyal to you as the owner. In a relationship, you're loyal to the other person that you're in the relationship with, whether it's a personal or professional relationship. So could you share with us maybe 2 or 3 things that you believe are contributing drivers of loyalty?
Sure. I think it's quite poorly understood in this day and age when people are demanding loyalty and trying to get loyalty through gimmicks and marketing, the so-called loyalty program. So yeah, I think it does make sense to get back to basics. I think loyalty is an investment from you in another person in a relationship. And you think, why would I invest in someone else? Well, it's because they stand for what you believe in. You believe that they'll reciprocate and treat you reasonably and not abuse your trust, and that you're in a position to actually do something to make their life better. Mm-hmm. Otherwise, you're just wasting your time. So, well, a lot of people think about loyalty as, oh, I want them to be loyal to me. I think the way to start is, how can I invest in this relationship and love them, make their lives better? And that's what great companies do. That's what great leaders do. They inspire their troops to find ways to enrich the lives of customers, sustainably, of course, profitably. But the whole goal in a business is making your customers' lives better. And because when you do that, and you're investing in the right relationships, they come back for more. They bring their friends. They say great things about you. They become your public relations force. That's how great business works. And I think we get drawn off center a little bit because the larger our company is, the more it's run through financial mindset. It's our accounting numbers that we seem to view as the framework of success, when in fact, no, it's this golden rule idea. It's love thy neighbor as thyself. And when you do it, you'll see the results. Because when customers feel the love, they are loyal. And that's at the core of loyalty. It's earning loyalty by enriching customers' lives, and loyalty from employees by putting them in a position to earn lives of meaning and purpose by enriching the lives of customers that they touch.
Mm-hmm. I like the fact that you mentioned that it's not just about loyalty in terms of you getting the person to be loyal to you, but it has to be earned. And it's not something that can be bought. So I'm glad that you mentioned at the beginning that a lot of these loyalty programs and marketing initiatives that organizations have, that they dub as loyalty programs, are not actually programs that will make or even influence your customers to be loyal to you. So it's good that you identified for us that, loyalty is something that is earned. Now, in terms of showing your customers or enriching their lives, regardless of the industry that you're in, whether you're a financial company, you sell insurance, or you have credit cards, or you're a retail company, what are some things that companies should look at in trying to enrich the lives of their customers? Do they need to understand what type of customer they're serving, and does the generation matter?
Of course it does, and yet I find that the most successful businesses, whether they're dealing with teenagers today or octogenarians, it's understanding how to communicate effectively, how to always act in your customer's best interest, to listen very carefully to how you're doing and what they need, Because at the core, a business is trying to solve the customer's problem. It's trying to turn a frown into a smile. And the human process of understanding that has, I don't think that's changed in thousands and thousands of years. Of course, the technologies we use, the innovative approaches, those open up wonderful new opportunities. But the basics, they haven't changed. There's one of my colleagues at Bain, we joined about the same year, Scott Cook, who's the founder of Intuit, who has built TurboTax and other very successful business, huge success. And he said, Fred, it's you want a big business, solve a big problem for your customers. And that's the right way to think about it. I am going to be a reliable resource that is going to make a real difference in your life by turning that frown into a smile. And I'm going to measure my success that way. Mm-hmm. Not, obviously profits are necessary, but those who think of profits as the true objective, they're not going to grow a very big business very long, because that's a very selfish, how much money can I extract from your wallet? Get away from me. I'm not going to tell you anything about myself or what I need. If I have someone who actually acts in a loving, caring way, they want to, they're a mutually beneficial relationship, the fair. But that's the kind of person I'm willing to actually share my information with and give constructive feedback to, because I want them to succeed. I want them to succeed in helping me solve my problems.
Yeah. So while I was reading part of your book as well, I bucked up on a term, customer capitalism. Could you share with us what is that exactly, and how does that impact the consumer?
Yeah, I think people have a framework in their heads about capitalism that's just dead wrong. That maximize shareholder value is the underlying concept. Through the years, whether it's Milton Friedman or Adam Smith, there's an ancient and out of date framework that people call capitalism. That without giving it this name, it's true. It's financial capitalism, because it's based on this idea of profits, and shareholder and investor is the king. I think that has changed over the last few decades, at least, to where now there's so much capital in the world. You can raise millions and millions if you have a good idea. Mm-hmm. What there's not infinite amounts of are good people with good ideas who are willing to work together in a team framework to serve others. And the real capital in that system are customers. All the cash flow comes out of customers' wallets. So let's keep track of how many customers you have, how many are coming back for more, how many referrals you're getting. I mean, those are the keystone metrics in customer capitalism. And more than anything, it's being clear about the purpose. If the purpose in the old school capitalism was maximizing profits and shareholder value, in customer capitalism, the purpose is to enrich the lives of your customers. Bain did a survey of a couple hundred senior executives around the world, C-suite executives, and they found that only 10% believed that the primary purpose their business existed was to make customers' lives better.
Wow.
They thought it was about profits or a great place to work or balanced duties to shareholders, stakeholders. I just think that is dead wrong. A good business, a sustainable business, has to have a primary purpose of making their customers' lives better.
Mm-hmm. Amazing. One of the companies that you mentioned in your book when I was reading was ChickfilA, and I absolutely love ChickfilA, both me and my daughter. But one of the things that I really love about ChickfilA was the fact that I remember I traveled a few years ago, and my daughter wanted to get something from them on a Sunday, and they're actually closed on Sundays, and I thought that was awesome. Like, that was, from what I read, that was a principle that their organization had, and they've lived it up to this day, and they've still been very successful even though they're closed on a day when they could be making more profit, as you mentioned.
Yeah, the purpose of ChickfilA is certainly to enrich the lives that it touches. And it's interesting, the founder, Truett Cathy, was one of my early teachers in my business career. And we're totally different people. he was a Southern Baptist, very, very conservative point of view. I live up in New England and Unitarian Universalist. You couldn't be more liberal in your religious thinking. And yet we had enormous overlap at the core, because he felt like his life, he'd picked a proverb from the Bible that essentially it says that a good name is worth more than silver or gold. Or in other words, your reputation is everything, which I think is so true. And, of all this notion of net lives enriched and net promoter score, you think about when you enrich a life, you're living up to the golden rule. You're loving a neighbor. When you diminish a life, you're failing. And so the reason Chick-fil-A has been very interested and supportive of net promoter is because we're trying to achieve the same mission. We're trying, this is back to Truett Cathy's words. He was inspired to turn frowns into smiles on his customers' faces.
Yeah.
And that is the purpose of the business. So then you mentioned Sunday. I asked him why he closed on Sundays, and he said, it's not a religious thing, Fred. He's a very religious guy, but he's not a preachy. Our business does not put biblical quotes at the bottom of their cups, and we're not proselytizing in the parking lot. We try to be models of. We try to help our people live up to this standard of loving your neighbor. And closing on Sundays he just knew that you could not run a restaurant and have the manager there 7 days a week. You kill yourself. And he said, given that, and I definitely want my store operator there running the place, not delegating to an assistant. He said, we have to close a day, and closing Sunday gives this signal that we care about our people and we care about the golden rule. And he said, but Fred, I go to other restaurants on Sunday. It's not like it's wrong to go out and eat at a restaurant on a Sunday. It's just wrong for us to try and have our managers running a business 7 days a week. And it's brilliant. And it is a signal. I think it reminds people that we're different. And you're right. Their productivity, they have far higher sales per unit than any of the competitors. And those competitors are open 7 days a week. And it shows you, when you get the purpose right, your business can crush the competition.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I support that 100%. Thank you for sharing, Fred. All right, Fred, could you share with us what's the one online resource, tool, website, or app that you absolutely can't live without in your business?
Well, it's a new one for me. I discovered a company through one of my Bain partners. It's called Built, B-I-L-T. And the reason they were intriguing to me was their goal is to help their customers. Their customers tend to be consumer brands like Weber, who makes grills, and playset manufacturers and so on. They try to help them build promoters among their customers, to create more promoters. And what they've done is just taken one of the most painful steps in every customer's journey episode, which is assembly and first use, using paper instructions, these paper instructions are horrible. Let's be serious. They're written by engineers whose English is certainly their second language, and they're just totally unintuitive. So Built takes the 3D CAD drawing from the manufacturer and then turns it into great little 3D instructions on how to assemble and use your product effectively. And it's free to the consumer. So you go to a Home Depot or Costco and you'll start to see BILT on the packaging, and that you're going to get that home and you'll be able to put this thing together quickly. And you'll know you'll feel great about yourself. Or Home Depot will have their faucets, or ceiling fans, things that are really tricky to install, or garage door openers. And you go to Built, and you should put the product in it, and it downloads up-to-date information about how to put it together in a very intuitive way, where you can zoom in and pinch out and rotate upside down.
Wow.
And voice activated to help you guide you through your journey. It's brilliant.
Nice. Very good. They obviously saw a need in the market, as you said, a problem that people were having challenges with and complaining about, and created a product that would be applicable to make people's lives easier.
try ordering a bicycle online and get it flat packed to your driveway, and then you try to put it together using paper instructions, and I think you'll see why Built is so successful.
Yes, I can just imagine. And my coordination of doing things like that are extremely poor. So I'm sure I'd benefit from using Build. Thank you for sharing. We'll have the link to that application in the show notes of this episode. Okay, Fred, could you also share with us maybe one or two books that have had the biggest impact on you? I'm sure you have many because you've been around for quite some time, and I'm sure you've had to read and engage with a lot of authors over the years. That has definitely helped enrich your life and the lives of others. But is there maybe one or two that have definitely had a great impact on you over the years? Maybe something you read a long time ago or even something you read recently?
Well, the one there, I read a lot of books. Actually, I listen to them now. My eyes are so strained from working at my computer and writing a book that I can't read in a relaxed way, so I listen to Audible.
Okay.
Probably the most impactful book in the last 10 years was written by a guy who passed away. Clayton Christensen was a business school professor who I got to know. He worked briefly at Bain and then worked at a entrepreneurial thing and ended up at Harvard. He wrote a book called How to Measure a Life, and I think he's just absolutely right. And the reason it helped me is I think you do need to measure a life carefully. That's what Net Promoter Score is. Of all the lives I touch, how many enriched, how many diminished, that's how you measure a life. And I think Clayton put this in very human terms, and thinking about that, not just in a business sense, but all of your relationships in life. How do you think about investing in those relationships and being loving and loyal in a way that's not just correct in your mind, but the other party felt the love. You have to get feedback to know if you've enriched that life. So that I think How to Measure a Life is a big one. There's a recent book by Adam Grant called Think Again that I think is quite good. Adam is a guy that we must think along the same lines, because it was an earlier book that he wrote about. It's called Give and Take. And he just makes the case that, the world is full of people. There's some people who are givers. There's people who are matchers. They want a relationship to be in balance. And then there are takers.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, one of the keys to life is avoid those takers. They're sociopaths. You can try and change them, but good luck. And I think this is important in living a golden rule existence. Not all people want to be part of a community where people are treated with loving care. They'll abuse that community. And I think if they can't be fixed, they have to be excluded.
Mm-hmm.
And then Think Again, Grant just says, we have these mindsets that are fixed. And I think of financial capitalism as a fixed mindset for 90% of the world. And I need to change the way people think about the purpose of business and how to enrich a life.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. So the books from Clayton Christensen and Adam Grant, correct?
Yes.
Awesome. So we will have those two books in the show notes of this episode. And if our listeners would like to tap in either through Audible or through the physical reading of the book, you can definitely access that resource. Okay, Fred, could you share with us what's the one thing that's going on in your life right now that you're really excited about? It could be something that you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
Well, I got the paperback galley of Winning on Purpose this just a week ago, and I can't take it off of my desk because I'm very pleased with the way it's come out, and that's going to be every day of my life for the next probably 90 days is how to get people to see the relevance of this book to their personal lives, not just their business lives. Because the subtitle of Winning on Purpose is The Unbeatable Strategy of Loving Customers. And loving customers just doesn't sound like it's a business book. It sounds, I don't know what it sounds. It's a little flaky, but it's not. Because this notion of love thy neighbor as thyself is the core. It's the highest standard in human affairs. And what I'm arguing in Winning on Purpose is that is how you win. When you enrich lives, You have to do it sustainably, and you have to do it profitably, but that's not the magic. Accountants can do the profits for you. The magic is figuring out using your energy and ingenuity to love your customers and have them come to trust you and come back for more and bring your friends. And it goes so far beyond business. So the great challenge I've got is getting people to recognize I wrote this book for my granddaughters, infants, who I want them to see how you live the right life. And it sets out a way of measuring progress that I think is consistent with what Truett Cathy had in mind of building a reputation that you'll be proud of, and investing in relationships where you can earn people's loyalty. And it's probably a good rule of thumb anywhere to just don't spend time with a person unless you can figure out a way to make their life better.
Yeah.
And what a wonderful, and by the way, the good news, chapter 2 and 5 of the book demonstrate that companies that do this, they're the ones that get rich. It's not clear from reading the Wall Street Journal, but every company, every industry where we look at the net promoter score versus the competition, measured carefully, correctly, not just some self-reported vanity metric, but real apples to apples, it's the company with the highest net promoter score who is growing faster and delivering better total shareholder value. And that's really good news. But the mindset is fixed. They just don't get it. They say, oh, that's just some industries. I say, no, every time we're finding. I mean, how did Andy Taylor grow to be the biggest car rental company on earth? How did Apple become one of the biggest companies on earth? Because they built a set of customers who are promoters, who are out there buying more stuff and referring their friends and giving good feedback because they trust you, and making your employees feel special and loved. That's the flywheel that's going on. So I'm trying to convince the world that business works in a very different way than they probably learned in business school, or if they read the Wall Street Journal and The Economist.
Very true. And, one of the things that kind of came in my head just now when you were speaking in terms of what we were taught in school versus what is reality. The reality is a business isn't a static thing. It's made up of people. And without people in the business, there's no business. And people are human beings with feelings and emotions. And you get more out of people when they feel loved, when they feel listened to, when they feel heard. As you said, when you enrich their lives. So if you really do live that principle, I'm sure you'll win in all aspects of your life.
I've worked at Bain and Company for, I've lost track, since 1977. So what is that, 43, going on 44 years now. And we've been through good and bad times. For the last 10 or 20 years, it's been good times. If you look on Glassdoor, the place that rates businesses as great places to work, Bain has been, Bain, this year it's the best in the world, according to Glassdoor. And it's always been one of the top several since Glassdoor started. And so, and Bain hires lots of different kinds of people, but these are really ambitious, talented people. And even with that slice of ambitious people, when you look at what makes a person happy at work at Bain, they want to feel loved. They want to feel like they're a valued member of a team that wins with its customers. So it's an act of service. And if you ask, remember I said the typical business person in the world, 10% of them think the reason their business exists is to enrich customer lives. Mm-hmm. At Bain, if you just ask everybody through the company, you find 60 to 70% of the people think the reason Bain exists is to make our clients more successful. It's a servant culture where love is at the core, helping people succeed and putting smiles on faces. And that's what makes it a great place to work. And the irony is, I know what makes, at least I think I know what makes Bain a great place to work. It's that we are dedicated to helping our teams make a difference in their clients' success and be recognized and rewarded and part of a team that it helps achieve that. And it's financially successful, but that's not the purpose. The purpose is making our customers' lives better. And I think most great places to work lists completely ignore that. They think it's refrigerators full of beer in the break room and pool tables and ping pong and cool fringe benefits, but man, that's the fringe. The core is being on a team where you're playing a valued role at really making a difference in a customer's life.
Yeah, totally agree. Totally agree. All right, Fred. So our listeners would have tapped into this episode and they are quite pumped and intrigued by your new book, Winning on Purpose, The Unbeatable Strategy of Loving Customers, and also all the work that you've been doing at Bain and Company. And they would like to connect with you further. Where can our listeners find you online?
I think a good place is at LinkedIn. You'll not just get my contact and background information, but I publish a newsletter every couple of weeks, and you'll find the other resources. I think the other place to go is netpromotersystem.com, which is hosted at Bain, but it goes all of the history of our work on Net Promoter, including lots of videos and resources that businesses, large and small, could find very useful. And I think you got to get your employees to understand this idea that what'll make them happy long term is being in a position where they can be a valued member of a team that delights its customers. And that's what the conversations ought to be about every day, every week.
All right. Now, before we wrap our interviews up, we always like to ask our guests, do you have a quote or a saying that during times of adversity or challenge, you'll tend to revert to this quote? It kind of helps to keep you on track, or at least get you back on track if for any reason you get derailed. Do you have one of those?
I wish I did. I when I'm preaching, to whether it's at the dinner table or elsewhere, I go back to this idea of how important loyalty is. You got to understand what your life stands for. What is your purpose as an individual? And then the way you live that purpose is to invest in relationships with other people who share that purpose. And it's how you can invest and help those people succeed that I think helps you achieve your mission. So choose your loyalties wisely. They guide your life and they define your legacy.
Love it. Choose your loyalties wisely. They define your life and guide your legacy. Is that what you said?
Guide your life.
Guide your life.
Define your legacy.
Amazing. Love it. Love it. Absolutely love it. And I'm sure every person on the face of this earth that wants to do good wants to leave a good legacy behind. So the only way to do that, I believe, as you had said, was to try and live by doing those actions on a daily basis. Do it consistently, because that's the only way when you leave this world, you'll be able to leave that legacy.
And measure. It's so many people would say, oh, I can't measure love. And I would say, oh, actually, I think you can. You can get feedback from your customers in a systematic net promoter framework and understand how many lives you've enriched. And that is your legacy. And you should be measuring your way toward the kind of life you want to lead.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much, Fred, for jumping on this podcast with us today and sharing all of these awesome insights and nuggets, and just from research that you've done at Bain and, just about the book. I would like to, again, promote the book. All of our listeners, please head on to, it's going to be released in November, right, Fred?
Yeah, it's available for pre-order now on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and the other places. So you can go and see the book, and I think there's a chapter excerpt and some of the reviews that have already taken place. But so get one early. So get the channels humming.
Awesome. So as Fred mentioned, you can hop on and definitely get pre-ordered. And of course, we want to encourage you, after listening to this episode, if you're not doing it already, to ensure that going forward every day, your number one aim is to enrich the lives of your customers. Because if you do that, as Fred mentioned, you definitely will, your organization will be led to what we call good profits, and not just the ones that, show dollar value.
Profits measure how much you've pulled out of their wallets. I think the great organizations measure how much value they put into the lives they touch.
Amazing. All right. Thank you again, Fred. Really, really appreciate it. And we wish you all the very best. Just want to remind our listeners to hop onto Facebook if you'd like to join our private Facebook group at Navigating the Customer Experience Community. And feel free to follow us on Twitter at NavigatingCX. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We also have a new book available on Amazon, The ABCs of a Fantastic Customer Experience. It's available in ebook and paperback. So if you want to increase revenue in your organization, build a stronger service culture, and create employees or develop employees who are really mastering service delivery in your business, you need to grab a copy of this book. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.